also known as Trog Online, or the other Prather, or the committee advocacy chairman now. If you have any questions about that, I'm sorry to begin with. This, though, as I am currently employed, well, as of this talk, I am currently employed as a cPanel employee at Houston. We're always hiring good Perl developers. If you need anybody, if you want to talk about it, come up and talk to one of us. If you have an inkling to move to Houston. I'm actually there as a Scrum Master. I am a certified Scrum Master. That is scary unto itself. And this is the talk about how I learned to automate my Scrum team. Or, get rid of the nasty parts. Like beginning with, well, let me give you a little bit of my backstory. I've done a few different talks. This is going to be the first talk where I actually have code. Very minimal of it is going to be Perl. I think none of it's actually functioning Perl, because where's the fun in that? My name is Mark. I go by Trog. The other Prather, the other Prather, that guy who gave that talk about that thing, or Trog, more often than not. If you're looking for the code for this one, this is all functional code. I don't do live demos because that's how you break things. But all of the code is on GitHub on this auto Scrum. There will be time for questions at the end. Heckling, please save it for the end or my next talk. And at a high level, let's talk about what Scrum is. You have two different definitions of Scrum. One where it's a, what is the actual term? A holistic solution for improving the user experience in a software project. Or an egalitarian gilded management tool to increase productivity to 2-week iterations. Those are both equal things. These are the Agile Manifesto. It came from the Agile Manifesto, which was based off the results of a botched attempt to summon an angelic force with the best of intentions. God could only provide a minimum angelic product so that we would have to iterate from the framework for the mortals to create their own angels. This isn't laughing at any of you. This is just bombing already. But as you can see, there they are, trying to summon, we hope, God. That thing always gets me. But inside of the roles of Scrum, there are 3 major roles. You have your Scrum Master, the man who's trying to look down and seat away. That is actually my real product owner right there. And then you also have the developers. So I'll go over each of the roles and how I learned to automate each of them away. Starting off, or also in the ceremonies, I'll go over those and how I automated those away. Like your groomings, your plannings, your dailies, your demos, and your retros. Most people usually only hear about the dailies, but there are more meetings to that. And there's even more meetings than those meetings. Those are just the ones I care about. Again, if you're looking for the scripts, they are right here on GitHub/Trog4 or TRG404/AutoScrum. But going over the, really? There we go. We're going to start off with automating the product owner. First step in automating your Scrum team. So what is a product owner, though? A product owner's job is basically, they're the ones who talk to the customers so that the engineers don't have to. It's the perfect analogy I've ever heard of being a product owner. They stand in there and they create user stories and communicate to the customers the priority of concerns. That's what they're supposed to do. But if you've think of them as like a waiter. They're not the ones in the back of house that make the food. They're the ones that actually interact with the customer right there. The problem being, if you screw up something with their order, it's always the customer's, or it's always the waiter's fault. You never decrease the tip on the back end line cook. It's always the waiter's fault. If you've ever, if you forget the ketchup, it's the waiter's fault. If the food comes out burnt, it's the waiter's fault. If you wanted cheese on the side of it, didn't tell the waiter, realized about halfway through it that you did want cheese, it's still the waiter's fault, even though you're the idiot. But if you've ever had to deal with customers like that, you know that they're horrible, horrible things that should never be dealt with. So, for my codes, these are the 3 dependencies that you will have to deal with. There's random line, GHI, and GitHub. Right now, I don't have it going through a full work process. I just have it using GitHub issues. But let's start off with the anatomy of these user stories, or the way that the PO identifies and talks to the development team. He usually creates stories that say, as a customer, I'd like to give you this deliverable so that I can, this is the business value. And those are the ways that the team knows why we're working on, what we're having to work on, and who we're supposed to be working it for. This is a great tool and a great opportunity, but completely overdone because you only get about 6 customers that you ever have to deal with. Deliverable, or the business value, nobody ever cares about. And the deliverables, well, you'll change your mind 5 different ways anyway, so don't even worry about that. Just randomly select those and then echo it out into a nice little script. That way you can say as a whatever customer you want. I'd like whatever deliverable you got so that I can, it doesn't matter about the business value. And then boom, throw that up into GitHub, and then you've got an entire subset of backlog already ordered for your team. Boom, I got 1 down. Now I gotta go to the developers after this. But I've automated my PO away. You're welcome. Again, this script right here for all your needs. You can just tell your guy, we're going to Scrum. I got 1 of the dependencies down. We can just fire those people off. The next one, automating developers. At CPAN, we're a big Perl shop, so I had to figure out how do I write a simple bash script to get rid of Perl programmers? How do I dilute down what it is to be these craftsmen of code? The developer themselves. And I thought to myself, well, I was talking with my brother about this, and I was like, I can make a Markov chain that goes out to CPAN and learns the ways that CPAN programmers write and uses that to generate different code. And then, yeah, no, that was way too hard. So what I basically had it do is it just throws up some random CPAN modules and makes some line noise at the bottom. And that's basically all Perl programmers do. I'm right. You know I'm right. But then you have to go into QA. So I figured I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Quality assurance and a review. Boom. Got it done. It's going to be beautiful. So my code just runs through, check it, is it done Perl C? And then just done the story. Done the story. Got it. All of my developers taken care of. Documentation. My code's self-explanatory. I don't need to do that. Perfect every time. Now going on to the ceremonies and rituals. All of those meetings that I've just saved you time with. Boom. The grooming. Like most groomings, 1 person's really unhappy about it, just like that cat is. So I took away that annoying part of it where POs had to talk to customers, and basically what you do now is instead of talking to the customers who really don't know what they want, they're not the ones who actually have to use the product, you're the one who's making it. So why should you talk to them about their problems? You know what you're doing better than they ever could because you write code. They just work with it. If you can't tell the snark in there, it's all the way down. So basically, I figured it out down to these 7 different these 7 different customers that you'll ever run into. The sysadmins who are always whining about something that you did wrong with their code. The product user who you never really talk to anyway. The stakeholder who does sign your paychecks, so suck up to them. The guy with the money who sucks up to the stakeholder, well, who the stakeholders are sucking up to. So yes, VC groups, because in case you have a dumb idea, you can always sell it to a venture capitalist group, just saying it's the next big thing, I'm disrupting something. Which, if there's any venture capitalists who want to take me up on this automated Scrum thing, talk with me afterwards, I could use a paycheck. Customers, I have no idea who those are. And then grandma, the most illiterate user of them all. Those are basically all you ever have to worry about. And then you just put in some random steps. I mean, deliverables, through the 2 weeks, the deliverable will change so many times that it doesn't make sense to put it down, because your mind's going to change anyway. So just tell the developers halfway through that you've changed your mind. They'll be fine. It's agile for a reason. You don't actually have to give them things to work on. You just have to tell them what to do. That's your job. And then the business value of it all. To get a clean code base. These are just simple things that'll make people happy at the end of it. Like, well, why are we doing this? Well, don't you want a clean code base? Well, this has nothing to do with that. Shut up. And just moving on. And other simple buzzwords. Go on to Hacker News, figure out some buzzwords, throw them in there. Optimization, disruption. Those will all work out. You can use those as, use those as your buzzwords, make enough compliance, and you'll be fine. This is great. But now that you've all that, but since I've automated the PO away, you no longer need to do any of this. It's all taken care of for you. You're welcome. The first meeting, well, that isn't the first meeting, but the next meeting that we're going to be talking about is the planning meeting. My slides are a little bit out of it. And the planning meeting is the time when the team gets around, the developers sit down with the Scrum Master and the PO, and they figure out what's coming up in the next schedule. What's coming up in the next time in the calendar week? How many days off are we going to have? Who's going to be out this week? How much time do we actually have to sit down and talk about what we're going to be working on for the next 2 weeks? Where are we going to be to get ourselves on the right page? That usually involves either in the grooming or planning, everybody's favorite game, planning poker. If you guys have never heard of planning poker, be grateful. Everybody puts a card and they figure out what they think, a general estimate of what the stories are. And they use a modified Fibonacci sequence if you have the little cards that do everything. But it's an easy way to figure out, is this a 1 or is this double the complexity? Is this even more complex than that and more complex than that? And what you're supposed to do is you think about the problem in all of its complexity, not just how long it'll take you to make it, but how much of a complex project is this holistically? How big is this to go from the programmers all the way down to the QA to get it delivered to the customer? So you're not just sizing it on, is it bigger or is it smaller? It's also, how much time will this take me to figure out what's going on? How complex is this code base? How screwed up and how much technical debt do I have to get through just to change a one-line fix so that I can capitalize a letter on the landing page? Yeah, not that I know that one. But since we don't actually have any programmers or POs or developers anymore, that's not going to happen. So what I've done is I've broken down planning poker so that you too can still have the fun of planning poker. I've taken this modified Fibonacci sequence right here. I've figured out that I can do it through random lines. It'll pick it out. And basically I realized that all the programmers ever really do is just choose a random number below 20 and then hold it up. So it happened in every meeting I've been at. See? Exactly. A nice 13. So what I've done is I've got my 5 little developers there, A, B, C, D, and E. I love E. And I have them basically just throwing up lines, and when they finally, through statistics, hit the same number, it prints that one out, and that's the size of the story, because that's how planning poker works, right? The daily, the greatest, most well-known meeting of the Scrum process, where everybody gets up and they answer the 3 questions. What did I do today? What do I plan on doing tomorrow? And am I being impeded by something? It's your time to tell your team, hey, this is what I'm planning on working on. These are the parts of the code base that I'm going to be working with. This is what I plan on doing afterwards. Hey, also, I need help with this part. That's not actually what happens. Generally, what happens is just a log file of what you've done. So I created a nice log file. It pushes out the story, says this one was done, this is what I worked on, I moved this story to done. Doesn't matter if you're impeded, I'll figure it out myself. I'm too proud to ask for anything, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing next because I haven't figured it out yet. Yeah. Wow, I just lost it. Now we come to the demo. The demo is actually split into 2 different parts. Little known sprint review, and then there's a sprint demo. The sprint review is where you talk to the product owner, and the team presents the work that they've done to the product owner. The product owner goes over it and says, I think in this 2 weeks you guys have figured out exactly what the customers want, or I think the customer wants something else. I've talked with them, and this is the time when the stakeholders and the customers and all of that can come around, look at what you've made and say, I think you're on the right path, or I don't think you're quite on the right path at this point, as opposed to the product demo. The product demo is where you're actually sitting out and showing off the actual product. This is what I've made so far. This is what the customers can use. This is directly in the customer's hands. This you can play with. This you can type. Please, God, break it. That way we can fix it. That way we can make it better for you. Now, in actuality, you've got the product demo coming out and then that sprint review. That sprint review is where the team says, this is what I made, put up or shut up. Product owner says, I don't care. Let's just move it on. A product demo is even more fun because then you come out with this half-assed piece of code that's sitting there. The customers have no idea what it's used for because they've never been talked to. The team really doesn't know what they were coding. They were just kind of futzing, let's go with futzing, around with technical debt inside the back end, and they've created something that kind of half meets the customer's expectations, but in another 2 weeks we'll get it even closer to what you wanted. It'll never be done, but it'll be closer. And that takes us to the fun meeting, the retro, which it's retro. Don't look for retro images on Google. You get some weird things. And yes, downloading images off Google while at the patent office, it didn't lose its irony at me. So with those, the retro is the time for the soft skills, the human part of a Scrum team to get together and to say, hey, this is how we're working together. This is how I feel at work. I either feel good about my work or I feel bad about my work, and here's why. Here's some things that I think we can do to improve as a team. Because we're all humans, and we all have to work together, and these are some of the communication breakdowns that we have. And that's great. That's a really good thing to have, if you have humans. But I don't have humans. So all you really need to do for the retrospective at this point, make sure your code's still working. And that's it. It's basically just a system checks. Every 2 weeks, boom, system check. And I know what you're thinking. The Scrum Master. How did I automate the Scrum Master away? How did I lose my own job? How do you improve upon the Scrum Master job? You don't. It just doesn't happen. We're perfect. It happens all the time. We are needed. We are employable. We need money, like that venture capitalist money. You can't fire me. Basically what I'm saying is just don't fire me. The Scrum Master role there is the perfect person to take care of, tinker, and help you, whether it's a machine team or even a person team, to help you figure out how can I make this process go better? How can I make this process go faster? What kind of communication errors can I help you guys take down? And that's what they're trained for, and that's what they do. Whether it's making snarky versions of you using simple bash scripts, or having one-on-one conversations with how you really do hate that guy in HR. Are there any questions, though? I mean, there shouldn't be, because I'm amazing, this talk was amazing, and you guys were okay. Cool. Anything? Nothing? Still shock and awe?
I have a comment.
True. I am still working on this talk a little bit.
I can offer you an image. I can throw you a picture of my kitchen.
There you go. That works.
Totally legal.
That's not nearly as fun as stealing images. Yeah, but does anybody here actually have, besides the cPanel group, anybody here actually using Scrum?
So that modified Dilettante.
Mm-hmm.
What was modified about it?
Once you go on to the 13, it doesn't go to 20, or it doesn't go to 21. It goes to 20, and then 20 to 40, 40 to 80.
People go past 13.
Okay. When you're sizing epics, I have teams that size their epics and all of that, or had teams that size their epics and went to 40s and all of that. That way they could break down each individual sprint off of it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I've had some healthy teams that actually could do that. I've had some other teams that were like, this is a 40. Why? Because I don't want to do it.
But the Fibonacci is not time.
No.
What?
There are other ways of doing the estimations and stuff like that. I just read about a time-based one where you can use the Fibonacci sequence on it, but then it goes into, it got really kind of obscure because you take your optimistic, your pessimistic, and your most likely to happen. You take each of those estimates, average those in time. Everybody takes those. Everybody averages those. And then if it's a project that you've done a couple of times, you actually weight the most likely 4 times and then divide it by 6. So that'll get you even more. And that one will actually get you a standard deviation of time on how, and I was like, why the hell? It's an estimate, man.
That's like 10 lines of crash.
Yeah, I know. Notice all of my, and this is also a thing, is this is me learning to program. Oh, that guy just always goes down to 0. He screws up your standard deviation every time. The Russian judge will always screw your standard deviation. Anything else? Then I will give you guys some extra time. Cool.